Samahani wanaume.
Walikuja to the office pamoja. So clearly they have a way forward. Kumbe bro manze, you are right. Because the moment we left here, ukanitumia hizo stories zikifuatana on our WhatsApp group.
I was actually shocked.
I wondered. So there were two separate incidences. One from the president's side, and now one from the vice president's side. Now I'm just even trying to get those notes that Hezbon alinitumia jana.
But you know the thing is, Joe, we had been hearing...
It's crazy.
We had been hearing to fununus. Oh, hawa ni kama wapatani. Oh, hawakangi kwa ofisi pamoja.
Because it was last year.
Hey.
Remember last year, I think October, where we were having this back and forth. Oh, they want to host the deputy president and replace him. I don't know with who.
Sijui alionekana kwa game moja amekaa this side, mwingine amekaa that side.
No, this weekend is when I saw the official crack.
Official crack, eh?
Like they were minding the gap.
Nashanga, bro, simulikuwa, and I remember even during the launch, these guys were so close, or so like nilikuwa bus.
I don't remember there was another launch where there were two guys who were wearing red ties.
Umenikumbusha and things went the other way. But for this particular incident, it's looking so bad that we are getting to a point where the vice president now acknowledges that he's the vice president because he's signed as the vice president. That that released to the media as well, and a communication to Safaricom who ran the Chapadimba.
Yes.
And for me, I'm like, yes, there might be wrangles. I know things need to follow the right procedure because there was a meeting between the president, the FKF president, that was saying, and the Safaricom hierarchy in terms of Chapadimba. And they had agreed because Chapadimba needs to run through FKF.
Yeah.
Now, we are seeing yesterday a letter written by Mariga and signed by him and the other 9 that Safaricom needs to stop that Ninia Chapadimba. I'm like, how are you stopping such a big tournament in the country, and how important Chapadimba is? We've talked about it. We were talking about it off air.
Yeah.
How important it is. You can look at almost every player who plays in the league has a way somehow.
Do you know how many women have benefited from Chapadimba even to get clubs abroad?
Yeah. We can talk about them.
If you talk about Beldin, kwanza ukimweka hapo kwa hiyo conversation.
Bigi sana imetoka on that women national team wametoka from Chapadimba wameingia Spain.
I remember when it was launching, it was hapo 2019 there. First time I interacted with it was with Titus Mulama, and we were in Kakamega, and he was telling me it was a very good initiative. The guys were so happy about it because it's finally aware of not only the youth but also other players that are not being recognized in the official FKF at that time, in the official the whole organization to be seen. Not only that, like Quiniki told us earlier on, it's a way for you to get that expressway into La Liga.
Yeah, because they normally take the best 11 and then they take them to Spain where they get exposure. You interact with some of these great guys. Because I remember even Telena Ocheng was among that team. Alafu, now we are having... You are saying about Kakamega. Go into the deep villages. Nilikuwa kwambia Northeastern. There is a Northeastern.
Yeah.
Alafu, I feel like Chapadimba used to act like the youth league in our country because we don't have a youth league. Where are our boys going to get a structured system where they can play football? If you look at our teams even in the KPL, most of them don't play youth unless it's Kariobangi Sharks.
And you have to remember this telco company was not only funding these players to actually attend, like the transport na nini.
Yeah.
The telco company was funding it.
Watu wanapata jerseys, watu wanapata viatu.
Jerseys, viatu, mipira, and then now obviously the cash incentive. Then from there, most of these guys who are playing now in these elite levels of either the NSL or the KPL came from those setups of Chapadimba.
Yeah.
And it's been running for the last 6 years. And then all of a sudden there is a problem. So that was part of it. The other part was that when they were presenting their 12-page document to the National Assembly Committee on Sports, key concerns for not only McDonald Mariga but also 9 FKF NEC members was the breakdown in financial oversight and budgetary governance. Yet, they're inside it. They don't complain when parks, travel allowances, nini are coming through.
Exactly.
No one is complaining about them.
No one is complaining about that at all.
Hezbon. Hakuna mtu ana complain.
That's also another issue because it's 9 versus 3. Because now there is Hussein, there is the other guy, the other NEC member, and then there is
Yusuf.
Yeah, and then there is the acting CEO. So it's 3 versus 9.
Yeah,
Unajua
because
pia-
Yusuf was about to be ousted last
He
week.
was,
Yeah,
he
he
was,
was.
he was. He was
Halted.
in the list of those 3.
Yes.
But what I don't understand is when did they hiyo ndo inaitwa ku lose the dressing room. When did it get to that point where you can command 9 NEC members wafanye hivi, even though they know some of the things that they're doing is wrong? This is detrimental to Kenyan football.
Higher. It goes on. Manipulation of NEC minutes and financial control structures. Manipulation of NEC minutes. Hesbon. Whenever there is a NEC meeting, sini wote wanafaa kuwa hapo.
Yeah, because the secretary, which is the CEO, writes minutes.
Yes.
And that's how we know the procedure, how the meetings work. Because there's a lot of meetings that happen.
We need to get Harold in studio.
Yeah, actually.
If
'Cause he can
everything
talk
is
about
okay
it.
legally, he can tell us a couple of things. We need to
But
get
it's an
Harold,
ongoing case.
the
Will you be
former
able to
CEO.
talk?
Yeah, that is the other thing. Because you know what? This speaks volumes. Problems cracked since January. Third, lack of transparency and mismanagement of public funds. Basically, number 1 and number 3, same what's up.
But this is, when you talk about lack of transparency and mismanagement of public funds, the president is not the only signatory to the accounts of FKF.
Yeah.
Because you can't, ni kama useme the president say the president of Kenya is the only signatory to the accounts of the country. That's not it.
But was this not one of the 21 issues that were brought up for the former CEO? This was one of them.
Yeah.
And I was telling you, remember that when I was telling you, he's just being, I personally felt like he was used as a scapegoat.
Yes.
Because you can't be all these problems niwe mtu moja.
We go on. Irregular Chan insurance arrangement, and that we are going to cover because now the president naye alikuja akafungua all the books na akatalk about that. But this was the ongoing 42 million issue with that a company that was set up. Other bigger companies lost the bid. This smaller company got it. The president said, you know
At
what?
a higher rate.
At a higher
At
rate.
a higher rate.
The president said, you know what, I'm here to clean up the place. Others said, no, there's a corruption in this. We're going to cover that. And then irregular procurement of chartered flights. Morocco ilikuwa irregular.
Unajua tunashinda tukiwa out of this country, by the way.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Unajua nafikiria like wamepiga malap.
Europe kutafuta kwenda na the coach.
Unaenda data analysis kufanya Europe.
As a NEC member. Okay. Irregular human resource practices. Irregular. Mliamkia mtu manze 31st New Year's Day kumtumia barua. And you're talking about irregular. Unlawful interference with CAF donated assets.
Kwanza this one I normally talk about. Unakumbuka zile, how do you call them, the LED lights?
Yes.
Yeah.
You remember after Chan the final tuliachiwa the LED lights that was supposed to be used during our games, but siku hizi ukienda hakuna, sijui zilienda wapi. By the way, they need to tell us.
Anachachisha kwa keja yake manze, ukiingia huko ndani
Bana anawatch TV na nini yetu.
Niambia nini? Kuna zile ziko nyuma ya TV, kwa ukuta side by side.
Yeah.
Non-disclosure of material FKF contracts. Higher. Governance that is parallel structured and interferes with secretant operations. How is that even? You guys are under one FKF. Lack of involvement of key personnel in important CAF FIFA functions.
I think this is the main issue.
Hapa sasa ndo mtu
I think hapa ndo the main issue ni wanafeel waendi hizi trips za CAF, like the FIFA General Assembly. I feel like Indio the main issue ni they're covering it with all other issues.
When the president goes to Italy like he went a couple of weeks ago, alienda na the whole cabinet.
But you're not supposed to go with the whole.
You're not supposed to go with the whole cabinet.
It's capped at how many people you can go.
Plus you also go with the person who is important in that meeting.
Exactly. I mean, even for us right now, if you want to go and face the higher ups, hatutapelekwa si wote, itakuwa representative. Come on man.
Hatuwezi tembezana mbogi.
Can you imagine this year tutosheka?
Ati tuende basi sisi wote tuende, tunataka kuongea like.
And then the other one, broader systematic governance failures within the federation. Now, there's two sides to this 11 points. There's no way someone can come up with this 11 points, and now these are the 9 NEC members with also the vice president, if they do not have a reason why. Okay, so if you're going to have it both ways, if you're going to look at it from their side of view and also from the president's side of view, some of these things that they have brought up 3 months ago, when things were being in battle, not only for the former CEO, but for women's sports also at the same time, women's football. They were together saying that, we're working together with the NEC members, that, governance will be upheld, that the money being used will be channeled to the right areas.
You see, for me, the issue is this all the old wrangles are with FIFA and CAF. CAF are aware. Let's not interrupt our football in terms of we want to go ahead. Even we have been calling for sponsors to come and promote our game and involve themselves with our game and try and boost our game. Then we write to them behind the scene that don't do this. You understand?
Yeah.
For me, Nico, like, you can fight however you want, but don't interfere with our football.
But it's already been interfered. It's too late.
Because already I'm foreseeing. Remember when Akina Nico were in office and then they were bundled out when they wrote to CAF our women don't participate in AFCON. You remember that incident?
Yeah.
I'm foreseeing something similar. Soon we are going to see a letter written to CAF that our women don't participate in AFCON.
So,
Alafu, it will be such a bad image. We're supposed to host AFCON next year.
But this is
what happens?
This is what I was saying when all this drama started coming out. I'm like, can you guys just wanasemanga nini ikanyagie? Let us at least get through this AFCON and then start your drama. And the way they're constantly reminding us, we've only been in office for a year. Only a year.
And you're having all these,
each other's necks. Everything that is happening in that office is public knowledge. You can't even hide, like, ile unaitwa dirty laundry inakuwa exposed. Every other day we're seeing letters here with accusations and sijui what and you're so quick to send them to the media hata.
And we are seeing them, and all this they are citing everything in the constitution on how that they were broken down and they were not followed up. For example, when we talk about manipulation of NEC minutes and financial control structures, when I say on the 14th of February 2025, we are in May. NEC unanimously resolved under Agenda 6 confirmation of the finance of finance chairman Mr. Luther Mukoa as category 2 signatory to FKF accounts. Then on the 26th of February, the final draft of the NEC minutes was shared by the then AGGS with the president for confirmation. Subsequent confirmation of minutes reflected removal of key accountability provisions. The finance director was irregular in the way alitolewa and verbally dismissed during the same period has been replaced, thereby weakening category 1 of internal financial control. Basically things that you can deal with hapa kwa ofisi inakuwa story.
Si ndo nakwambia, I don't know when and the problem is you're in a position of power, you still are answerable to a global governing body.
Correct.
They know right now we are keeping everything so open that they know, okay, that you worked so hard to get the previous regime out, to the extent that we literally got banned because we fired the guy, only for us to bring in something that's worse.
So, in this camp Hezbollah, this is a camp that is saying, we have no confidence in the president. Sindio?
And it's the majority.
And it's the
majority. It's 9
Sindio?
versus 3.
Isn't there a better way of doing this? Can't you investigate, table the issues and then present them? Rather than constantly sending messages and media and press release every other day. Isn't there a more professional way of handling this?
There should be a more professional way.
To a point whereby their communications team actually sent out and said, if you don't get info, people are using our logos.
Imagine.
Yeah.
People are using our logos to present information that is not from the FKF.
That was the communication from the FKF now.
Yes.
I was issuing out that the official spokesperson, and that's always the case, is the president.
Every day we are getting letters with the FKF header.
And not just it's putting us in a very difficult position. We don't even now know who should we trust now. Because there's a lot happening. There's a lot happening in our football. And I think I feel like you always have a problem when the two of you don't have an aligned agenda. Because the two just came in to make sure that Nick does not regain his seat. Because the problems began there. Because Hussein was announced that he's going to vie, and then Hussein also Mariga also announced that he's going to vie, and then the two sat down and then they were like, let's consolidate and come together as a group and make sure that we take this position. That was the problem.
Pause there. what you've said, consolidate. Meaning that there were meetings between each other
Yeah.
that they agreed on a so-called power sharing, or however they're going to run FKF.
Yeah.
Is it
I
that
doubt they agreed on that.
No,
they
but
must
you
have.
must have.
They must have.
You must
I
have.
doubt, because
So
now
1
we
year
won't be
later-
having all these problems.
But the
Because-
reason we're having these problems is because we had an agreement of ABCD. Then the minute you get into power, unairuka.
Or rather, we didn't discuss what we're supposed to do when we get into office.
No.
We just decided we have
If
one
we-
option.
if we didn't
it's
discuss-
the matter of your enemy is my enemy.
No. If we
You understand?
didn't,
We
if
we become
discuss-
friends on the virtue that Nicolette is our enemy. You understand?
No.
So to focus on anything, our focus is just making sure that she doesn't regain that position.
But if we didn't
I
discuss,
personally feel like
if-
that was the issue.
If we didn't discuss Hezbollah, there would have never been a clash, because I would have been giving you assignments as things go along, because you don't know where your position is yet.
No, but I feel like while you realize, it's now we're in office, so what are we supposed to do? Aya, mimi ndo ntaenda hii trip, I mean niko like mbona unsiendi hizi trip zingine. That's I personally feel like that's where the issue is.
Remember, we're also live on YouTube and on Facebook at Sporty FM Kenya. You can follow us right there. Our WhatsApp number 0733222105. Also, you can call us through 0748 999 Hezbollah, here I will side with Nicolette on one point. And also you, I'll side with you on one point. Now, towards Nicolette, the idea that a year ago we came into office, ousted the former regime, and we got in, we must have sat down and had a plan
Yes.
on how we are going to run FKF. I as the president and you as the vice president. I am sorry, you have seen it happening in politics. Agenda, we get in, tunakosana hata 1 year jaisha. It has happened before, even in politics. Now, on your side, Hezbollah, I believe one of the parties didn't clearly say,
That's it.
there are those agreements where tutoe Nicolette sawa na tufanye hivi na hivi, but kumbe mimi kama Josaina kulikuwa na vitu zingine nilikuwa nataka.
Ulikuwa unataka
For
na
example,
kusema
tenders zikuje kwangu, for
Yeah.
example tuseme kama tutakuwa hivyo, tenders zikuje kwangu, ama wacha ni run for example FKF, the Kenya Premier League, wewe run mambo ya CAF na Africa.
Yeah.
But tukienda kuona FIFA twende pamoja.
tunafaa kwenda mimi na wewe.
Yeah, for example.
Alafu kuna hii hii department niachie.
Yes.
Kuna hii department ya nini niachie. Maybe that should be basically how we should agree.
And what it looks like is that one guy alikuja na mbogi, mwingine akasema ni akanunua huyo mtu mwenye ako na mbogi. That's how it looks like.
Yeah, that's how it looks like. And you know,
Because saizi mbogi inaongea.
Yeah.
they shouldn't allow us to think that way. That's why they shouldn't allow us to think that way, because
But that's why some of these
Juu
things...
mtaani watu watasemaje?
Watu watasemaje?
But exactly,
Yeah.
that's why some of these things you handle them
In-house.
wanasemanga kwa boardroom, isitoke kwa boardroom.
But by the time waje imefika hapa nje, I believe boardroom walishindwa kukubaliana.
walishindwa
No,
kukubaliana.
Kuna mtu akuwa anachukua simu.
The problem is, in my opinion, when I look at it, I feel like as if it's a measuring of who is bigger than who.
Well,
Ile kitu ya two bulls, alafu the grass is the one getting hurt. And
Yeah,
in
that's
this-
our
and-
football.
And exactly, and in this instance, that's our football.
And I think the president needs to intervene, because Hussein Mohammed used to work in his secretariat
but
before.
you see now,
Mariga is his friend.
you're
They
talking
can
about the
sit
main
down and
number
have
one. You're talking
yeah,
about
the
number
president
one.
to
But if number one
Imagine-
interferes,
William
but-
Ruto
but
has to
also-
interfere,
but
has
also-
to
what
Not-
how does
not-
FIFA look at it?
not
But-
directly interfere, and just have these two sit down,
But you see, what
find a middle ground for
you
them,
know how
like,
that looks.
Wapatane chini ya maji.
because our say
No,
already
but-
wametuonyesha they won't
hiyo
talk.
si kitu yenye number one anafaa kuingilia.
Hiyo si kitu na-
But at this rate he has to.
But
At this rate our
kuna
football is
sports
going to
ministry,
the
kuna
pits.
sports ministry kama ni kubaya,
Sports
siasa
ministry ndio
ingilia.
worse. Sports ministry ndio hawafai kuingililia. At least the president
awaite.
awaite, like nyinyi nawaita hapa, cause imefika point you two
know-
can't
do you
sit
know
down
how
and
big
talk.
that is? That's like us tunakosana hapa alafu wase wa nini.
Yeah, it has to get
Our
there at some
executives
point.
ndio wanakuja kuongelesha
It has to get there at some point,
No, I don't think
because
so.
when the ministry wakiingililia, then it shows that there is interference, because you see the minister talked about it. He said we are glad FIFA have intervened because we really can't do anything. The ministry can't do anything. The only person I think who can and who needs to, it's the president, because ni watu wanawajua wote wawili.
But at
Sit
some
down,
point, you
alafu
know-
to discuss, to agree what are we getting wrong. We need to get our football right,
At
because
some-
AFCON is also another big thing
But that's the thing.
that we might miss out
Right
on.
now, I'm sure CAF is looking at these things now and discuss na FIFA. What's the next step for Kenyan football? That's the part that I don't understand, how we have a regime that is very well versed with football do not understand the jeopardy that they've kept our country in terms of football. Because very in the next 2-3 weeks, I won't be shocked if we get a letter from FIFA.
It's coming. It's coming because ikifika point we are writing to sponsors what is
that
tournament
though?
doesn't go on. It's really alarming, and that's where everyone is really worried, because at the end of the day we want our football to grow. At the end of the day we talk about making our league the best league. At the end of the day we want our players to get paid. At the end of the day we want sponsors to come into our game, and the moment they do so, we write letters. And that's why I personally feel like Mariga didn't do the right thing writing that letter. That is where you're jeopardizing our football, and that's where everyone is like, why are you doing this, everyone is on the other side, and people shouldn't pick side. People should be on the side of, we want our football to run properly. Two bulls are fighting, our football is hurting. Sort your issues.
Now, on the other side of it, the Football Kenya Federation President Hussein Mohamed has hailed the federation's freedom from FIFA's sanctions and restrictions imposed on it, marking a significant milestone in its reforms efforts. Speaking before the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture, kumbuka Mariga alikuwa amepresent these 9 pointers with 9 members, yeah? So on this other side, speaking to the Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture, Hussein attributed the development to improved fiscal discipline and a sustained governance reform agenda implemented over the past year. On this side, there's a complaint. On this side, this camp is hailing the progress of FKF. All right. Hussein noted that the previous restrictions imposed by FIFA and had hampered FKF's operations for a long time, but emphasized that the adherence to sound financial management and accountability standards has now restored confidence, allowing the federation to operate without sanctions. Kuna mtu huyu anakanyagia story hii iko hapa. Akikwambia ni aje hapa tumeimprove in this. Sawa? Now, where he was attacked from, he was attacked on the insurance matter. All right, so much so that they called for his head a couple of weeks ago. All right, this is what he had to say about medical covers for players and officials. Have a listen.
Details of the medical insurance cover for players, officials, and spectators, if any. It is my pleasure to inform the committee. Dear Chairperson, this question requires me to explain the legal and regulatory architecture that governs insurance obligations in international football tournaments, as it is a framework that is often misunderstood in public discourse. All rights, obligations, and operational responsibilities pertaining to the 2027 AFCON vest exclusively in CAF. Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania are host nations operating under the terms of the hosting agreement, and we do not own the tournament. Our obligations are defined and bound by that agreement.
Officials, players, and spectators manenos for the AFCON 2027 solely lies with CAF.
I don't think you would say that if you're not sure, because CAF is a very big institution for you to just say it's them, it's not me.
By that time, obviously, amepata the go-ahead in terms of this is what is going to happen, this is what we're going to cover.
Yeah, but CAF takes control over everything in terms of their tournaments. Even when you remember the ticketing issue, it was directly from CAF. We had to wait. No, we announced who's the ticket vendor for CHAN tickets. You remember?
Yes, I remember. And then this is where now it hits players hard. Players participating in AFCON are not employees of their national teams, but of their respective clubs. Meaning ukiumia na Harambe, club yako inakutibu.
But that's what the argument usually is when it comes to releasing players for the AFCON. You can't remember that's the argument that usually is, because you'll hear Liverpool will be saying, no, we pay this player, we don't want to release this player. That's where there's that tag. Because technically you're employed by your club.
You remember, I don't know if it was England. I think it was England under the previous manager, Southgate. I think they were told by some of the clubs, by the way, mkiendelea hivi and our players are getting injured, in your hands, we are suing you. And you have to take care of the players' medical.
Yeah.
There's always an incentive that's sent from FIFA if your players are injured during the international matches. That's to cover some bit of it.
Now, listen to this, and this is where it really hurts me. National federations, including FKF, only assume responsibility in limited and specific cases where a player called up for national duty does not have an existing insurance cover from their club. With all due respect, Kariobangi Sharks, Madare. Ano, tuseme ukweli. Insurance cover inatoka wapi?
Alafu unajua, then again, most of these clubs do not have the insurance cover.
Yes.
Let's just be very honest about it.
Na wewe umejitoa pia kama FKF.
Yeah, because it's not your responsibility. I think we tend to forget that these clubs are also privately owned. Whether it's a community club, it's a corporate club, whatever, but whoever is in charge of that club, chairman, mwenye in charge of that club, is the one who should make sure.
So mimi nikiumia representing Kenya, ni jisort.
But you can't remember there was that case during the AFCON yenye tunaendaga Egypt. There was a player alikuwa wa Gor. You can't remember, he got injured and then Gor wakaanza kusema watalipa your bill. National team do ilipe, national team akasema so there is mwisho ikalipwa na players.
Imagine.
The surgery for his knee. It was something like that, eh? So we always hear that.
Yes, boom.
I know the issue ya insurance huko a lot of issues because even our players I remember there's some point I talked to a player mwenye alikuwa amepata injury ya meniscus tear kwa magoti and the club, and that was Gor Mahia, then couldn't pay, so the player had to pay by himself the amount of money that was needed. So that is always a very contentious issue, and she said kuna kuwaga na hiyo back and forth between clubs and the national team, but of course a player is a responsibility wa the club, because it's the club that pays them. He's an employee of the club, not the national team. For the national team, hata awalipwangu salary, they only paid allowances. So there's also that. But for particularly Chan, the insurance was needed to cover the whole tournament. The players, the fans, even if a fan gets injured, is supposed to be covered under that insurance.
And I like what you've said about the fans, because he goes on to say, for spectators, a shared responsibility model between CAF and local organizing committees in host countries is needed, noting that host nations are required to secure public liability insurance covering stadium-related risks, tear gas, crowd management, and infrastructure safety, while also ensuring robust emergency medical response systems. It is bared between CAF and the local organizing committees in the host countries.
And that's why you see the local organizing committee, and that's why even FKF who are linked to the local organizing committee are supposed to pay that money to the insurance companies to make sure that if a player, if a fan, if an official were CAF during that period gets injured, gets hurt, gets sick, that they're supposed to be covered under that. That's why ukiona mtu akiumia nafaa atitiwe free because you have insurance that's paid by the local organizing committee and also CAF because they have a stake in it. And that's why the whole conversation here, the insurance company, doesn't really make sense to me, because I don't understand how FKF is directly linked. I don't understand how the president is directly linked. Yes, yet it's something that's supposed to run through CAF.
Yes.
It's supposed to be approved by CAF.
And that is why he clarified it very well.
So if there is an issue with the insurance, whatever, then it's supposed to be CAF that are supposed to be hold responsible. They're also supposed to answer that particular case.
Now, he goes on to talk about the medical report in reference to Chan that brought up all this. Have a listen.
On the issue of medical reports, I want to reference the Chan medical report, which is in the bundle that you have received, which details that. Regarding player insurance, I wish to draw the committee's attention to a well-established principle of international football law that governs this matter. Players participating in AFCON 2027 are not employees of their national teams. They are contracted employees of their parent clubs. Under the FIFA regulations on the status and transfer of players, the primary insurance obligation for a player rests with the employing club, not with the national association. National associations, including FKF, are required to step in and provide insurance cover only in the specific and limited circumstances where a player called to national team duty does not have existing insurance cover from their club. In practice, this situation is rare, as the overwhelming majority of players participating in AFCON are professionals whose clubs maintain comprehensive insurance cover. Spectators' welfare and safety are governed by CAF's stadium safety and event operations protocols. all designated match venues must comply with these protocols as a condition of hosting.
Wow. I mean, you listen to the breakdown and everything.
Msa alikuja bearing receipts. Unajua hiyo story amekuja bearing receipts.
Because what he's battling against 9 other NEC members is now accusations and them using now, according to him now, the constitutional framework of FKF to get him into boiling water.
Yeah.
Now huyu vile umesema alikuja na
receipts
from a higher office. This is what happens in a higher office.
I'm so worried because I can just foresee a letter from FIFA and that will just maze, we've just announced the dates.
For me, we can do another election. That's what I went home. We just start afresh. We now the proper fresh start.
Your fresh start will a fresh start of scandals.
But
both of them, all of them go home,
and
then we realign our football, because I think that's what's needed right now.
But you know what? I agree with you with one thing. Yeah. Private meeting. Rosafi. Number 1 awaita hawa.
Wase wakalishe chini. Ambie mchezo maleta in our football. There's a lot at stake.
But imagine, Joe, like you're going to the executive.
Sasa kama uko chini mumefumble.
Ati atuongei. Atasa I can't see yote tumeenda game na wewe Nicolette, mimi nakaa ile side unakaa ile side.
Na yet we're supposed to show unity. Hata fadhali manze, it's just like in a relationship you're told manze, tukitoka kwa nyumba tukaa tumejamiana.
Watu wajui vitu zetu.
It's supposed to be. That's what a partnership is.
Tumalizane.
Ndio nakwambia, when you look at the way they're behaving right now, I love you think I've been thinking of akina Nick because
Nick handled everything in a house. Si hatukuwa tunajua anything. We only knew when you're running our football the bad way. Look at what Nick did to our women's football. Maka unafanya we are praising Nick. Hezbollah is praising Nick.
Hezbollah ana praise Nick baada muulize kama baada kwa pale ana visit Kiambu Road.
But you can't do this. This is atrocity bana.
Pesa ya kwa Rebangisha siko wapi umeshindwa?
Pesa ya van ilienda wapi, ya Obivan ilienda wapi? But unafanya hadi tuna praise Nick that what he was doing with the women's football was amazing. Nick was doing amazing things to our women football. Actually Nick got our women's football into the under 17 World Cup.